Admiral Jessica Thompson ran her fingers across the crystalline tablet's smooth surface, its alien text casting a soft blue glow across her weathered features. 25 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this moment. The United Earth Council chamber, normally filled with heated debates and political maneuvering, sat in unprecedented silence. "They're giving us 48 hours to surrender," she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast circular chamber. A slight smile played at the corners of her mouth, the kind that had made her opponents nervous throughout her career. "Apparently, we're too aggressive, too unpredictable, and too dangerous to be allowed continued independence." Council President Marcus Rivera leaned forward in his chair. "And their evidence for these claims? They cite our rapid technological advancement, our concerning entertainment depicting space warfare, and," she paused for effect, "our dangerous tendency to solve problems in unexpected ways." A chuckle rippled through the chamber. The holographic displays surrounding the council members flickered to life, showing the hegemony's massive fleet positioned at the edge of their solar system. Over 10,000 ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built, arranged in perfect geometric formations that would have made Euclid proud. Their High Commander, Sixtel, included his species' military history, Thompson continued, walking slowly around the central platform. "They've conquered 300 species across 12,000 worlds. Never lost a war in 40,000 years." She stopped, turning to face the council with that same unsettling smile. "Of course, they've never met humans before." "What are our options, Admiral?" Rivera's question cut through the murmurs of concern. Thompson gestured, and a new hologram appeared. A complex web of tactical displays, resource allocations, and strategic projections. "Operation Trojan Horse," she said. "They think we're primitive because we don't build massive ships or maintain rigid military formations. Their intelligence suggests we'd be lucky to last a week against their smallest battle group." She touched a control, and the display zoomed in on Earth's defensive infrastructure. "They'll be expecting conventional resistance, planetary shields, orbital platforms, desperate last stands. We won't give them any of that." Instead, her eyes gleamed with barely contained enthusiasm. "We'll give them exactly what they expect to find. Nothing. Nothing." Councillor James Chen's voice carried a note of disbelief. "You want us to abandon our defenses. I want us to make them think we have." Thompson corrected. "While they're busy congratulating themselves on forcing humanity to flee in terror, we'll be implementing the real Operation Trojan Horse. Every abandoned base will be a trap, every empty city a snare, and every retreating ship a potential threat." The chamber erupted in excited conversation as Thompson brought up her final display. A complex series of tactical simulations running on Atlas, Earth's most advanced military AI. The simulation showed overwhelming hegemony victories in conventional warfare, but introduced chaos theory and human unpredictability into the equations. The results shifted dramatically. "They expect us to fight like everyone else they've conquered," Thompson said, her voice cutting through the noise. "But we'll fight like humans, with every dirty trick, impossible maneuver, and insane strategy we've ever dreamed up. While they're looking for our fleet, we'll be everywhere and nowhere. While they're trying to decode our tactics, we'll be rewriting the rules of engagement." President Rivera stood, his expression stern but his eyes bright with anticipation. "And our response to their ultimatum." Thompson picked up the crystalline tablet, her fingers dancing across its surface as she composed humanity's official reply. She turned it for all to see. 2 simple words that would soon shake the foundations of the galaxy's greatest empire. "Try us." The vote was unanimous. Commander Mike Rodriguez watched the massive hegemony warships through Europa Station's quantum feeds, their sleek hulls gleaming under Jupiter's reflected light. Next to him, his team of 30 elite operators, hand-picked from the world's top gaming competitors, worked their consoles with practiced precision. The hidden base, carved deep into Europa's ice, hummed with nervous energy. "Look at those formations," Lieutenant Kelly Baker whispered, her fingers flying across her holographic interface. "They're so perfect, they're predictable." As former world champion in Stellar Armada VI, she destroyed countless AI opponents who made the same mistake of prioritizing geometric precision over tactical advantage. Rodriguez nodded, watching the enemy fleet approach Earth's orbit. "Status on the Ghost Fleet projections." "Phantoms are ready, Commander," responded Technical Sergeant Jimmy Trickster Martinez, his console displaying hundreds of quantum-linked drone swarms. "These babies will give them the best light show since the Mars Anniversary Festival." The first wave of hegemony ships entered weapons range of Earth's supposedly abandoned defensive grid. Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile as the alien vessels maintained their perfect diamond formations, completely unaware of what awaited them. "Execute Phase 1, he ordered. Across the solar system, thousands of quantum-linked drones activated simultaneously. Each one carried a suite of advanced holographic projectors and sensor spoofing systems, technology that had originally been developed for the entertainment industry. Now, these same systems that had once created immersive gaming experiences were about to rewrite the rules of space warfare. On the main display, the effect was immediate and dramatic. Hundreds of apparent human warships flickered into existence, scattered across the solar system in seemingly random patterns. The hegemony fleet's perfect formations wavered for the first time. "They're taking the bait," Baker announced, monitoring the alien fleet's reactions. "Multiple enemy task forces breaking formation to pursue our phantom ships." Rodriguez keyed his command channel. "All stations, commence Phase 2. The phantom ships began executing impossible maneuvers, appearing to jump between positions in ways that violated every known law of physics. Each movement was carefully calculated to appear just realistic enough to demand a response, while being maddeningly impossible to predict or counter. "Hegemony command channel is lighting up," Martins reported with a grin. "They're trying to figure out how we're moving ships faster than their targeting systems can track." He paused, listening to the intercepted communications. "Sir, you need to hear this. Their admiral is having a meltdown." The team listened as Admiral Zixtel's translated voice filled the command center, his alien tone carrying clear notes of frustration. "Impossible. Their ships cannot be in 3 places at once. Find their real fleet." "Oh, it gets better," Baker added, initiating another wave of phantom projections. "Watch this." The holographic human fleet suddenly appeared to multiply, each ship splitting into 3 identical copies. The hegemony's targeting systems, programmed to identify and track real vessels, began reporting cascading errors as they attempted to lock onto ships that didn't physically exist. "They're launching fighters," Martins announced, "trying to get visual confirmation on our phantoms." Rodriguez straightened in his chair. This was the moment they'd prepared for. Initiate the Miyagi Protocol. Across his team's stations, a new program activated, one based on decades of fighting game combat systems. The phantom ships began moving with the fluid unpredictability of a skilled player, each motion calculated to appear both human and impossible to predict. "Sir," Baker called out, excitement evident in her voice, "the enemy fighters are starting to collide with each other, trying to chase our phantoms. Their formation is completely broken." Rodriguez watched as the mighty hegemony fleet, pride of the galaxy's greatest empire, descended into chaos trying to fight an enemy that wasn't even there. "Send word to Admiral Thompson," he ordered. "Tell her Phase 2 is complete. The stage is set for Phase 3. He looked at his team of gamers-turned-warriors, each one focused intently on their stations. "Ladies and gentlemen, you've just weaponized every hour you spent in virtual combat. Now, let's show them what else we can do with those skills." The real battle was about to begin. Colonel Emily Winters gripped her command chair as her flagship, the Silent Knight, drifted through the debris field of a destroyed hegemony supply station. The ship's inertial dampeners were offline, a necessary sacrifice for true stealth. Around her, Her bridge crew moved with the practiced grace of experienced zero-gracers, their movements fluid despite the lack of artificial gravity. "Status on the Hegemony Patrol," she whispered, though the enemy couldn't possibly hear them through the vacuum of space. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper, former champion of the Grand Monaco space racing circuit, checked his displays. 3 heavy cruisers, maintaining standard search pattern. They still haven't deviated from their programmed routes. He grinned. Predictable, just like the AI opponents in the qualifiers. The Silent Knight and its squadron of 12 stealth ships had been designed by an unlikely collaboration between military engineers and racing game developers. Their hulls incorporated technology originally meant to simulate high-speed space drifting in virtual reality. Now those same principles allowed them to move in ways that alien targeting systems simply couldn't comprehend. "Time to show them some real racing moves," Winters announced. "All ships, execute Maneuver Delta 7, just like we practiced." The Ghost Fleet killed their main drives simultaneously. Using only micro-thrusters and gravitational assists, they began a complex dance through the debris field. Each ship picked its own path, their trajectories calculated to appear random while following precisely planned courses. "Hegemony ships are adjusting course," reported Lieutenant Sarah Jones from Tactical. "Their sensors are registering us as random debris movements." Winters nodded, watching as her ships threaded their way through the field of destroyed station components. The Hegemony's own wreckage provided perfect cover for their approach. Their rigid military doctrine never considered that an enemy would use destroyed infrastructure as a tactical advantage. "Range to target?" Winters asked, her eyes fixed on the approaching Hegemony supply convoy beyond the patrol ships. 2,000 kilometers in closing, Cooper responded. "We're riding the debris weak perfectly. Their sensors still show us as background radiation and scattered materials." The bridge crew worked in focused silence as they approached their target. Years of simulator training had prepared them for this moment, though none of their instructors had ever imagined those simulators would be commercial racing games. "All ships, prepare for slingshot maneuver," Winters ordered. "Remember your racing lines, people, just like threading the needle in the Monaco asteroid belt stage." The Ghost Fleet synchronized their movements, each ship picking up speed while maintaining their debris disguise. They used the natural gravitational forces of the scattered wreckage to gain momentum without engaging their main engines. "Patrol ships are beginning their turn," Jones reported. "We have exactly 47 seconds before their sensor sweep returns." Winters felt a predatory smile spread across her face. "Perfect. All ships, on my mark." The next moments unfolded like a perfectly choreographed dance. As the patrol ships began their slow turn, the Ghost Fleet burst into action. Each vessel used the momentum they'd built up to sling themselves through different gaps in the debris field. They moved like racing ships taking different lines through a complex course, each path uniquely unpredictable yet precisely calculated. The supply convoy never saw them coming. "Weapons hot," Winters commanded. "Show them why humans always design our games with drift mechanics." 12 stealth ships emerged from the debris field at different angles, their weapons already firing. The supply ships, their defenses oriented toward traditional attack vectors, didn't stand a chance against attacks coming from seemingly impossible trajectories. As her fleet regrouped after the successful strike, Winters opened a channel to Earth Command. "Ghost Fleet to Command. Phase 3 complete. The Hegemony just learned that humans don't need straight lines to get from point A to point B." She paused, watching the burning wreckage of the supply convoy. "And they're about to learn a lot more about human creativity." Jack Martinez stood in the center of the tactical operations chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing 50 different star systems simultaneously. His partner, the military eye Atlas, projected real-time battle data across the curved walls. To anyone else, it would have looked like chaos. To Jack, former world champion of stellar conquests, it was a perfect symphony of strategy. "Atlas, run simulation Delta 16 across sectors 7 through 12. he commanded, his hands moving through the holographic interface with practiced precision. Use the Mongol cavalry tactics we discussed. Analyzing historical battle patterns, Atlas responded, its voice carrying a hint of curiosity that early developers hadn't intended but had proved invaluable. Interesting comparison. Jack. The hegemony's response patterns do share similarities with the Jin dynasty's rigid military doctrine. Around them, dozens of tactical officers monitored individual battles, each one a former competitive gamer paired with an eye subsidiary of Atlas. The chamber hummed with activity as human intuition and artificial intelligence worked in perfect harmony. Look at their formations, Jack pointed out, highlighting the hegemony battle group. They're still trying to maintain perfect geometric patterns even under attack, just like top-ranked players who can't adapt when you throw an unconventional strategy at them. Lieutenant Maria Torres, monitoring the Arcturus sector, called out, "Sir, the hegemony is launching a counteroffensive in sectors 13 through 15. Standard pincer movement, exactly like their tactical manual suggests." Jack smiled. They never learn. Atlas, implement Operation Feigned Retreat across those sectors. Let's show them why humans wrote The Art of War long before we reached the stars. The holographic displays shifted, showing human forces appearing to break and flee in disarray. The hegemony ships, programmed to exploit apparent weakness, took the bait perfectly. Their neat formations stretched thin as they pursued what they thought were easy targets. Reminds me of kiting boss monsters in Mos, Jack mused. They never expect you to turn their own programming against them. Alert, Atlas announced. Detecting hegemony command signals attempting to coordinate a multi-system offensive. They are adapting their tactics based on previous encounters. Finally, a worthy opponent, Jack grinned. Atlas, remember that chess match we studied? The one where Fisher sacrificed his queen. Accessing historical chess database, Atlas confirmed. You suggest we implement similar strategic misdirection. Exactly. But instead of a queen, we'll sacrifice something bigger. Jack turned to address the chamber. All stations, prepare to execute Operation Gambit. We're about to show them why humans value flexibility over perfection. The next hour was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Human forces executed seemingly random and chaotic maneuvers across all 50 systems, each movement carefully calculated to appear desperate while setting up an elaborate trap. The hegemony, unable to discern the pattern in the apparent madness, committed more and more forces to exploit what they saw as human mistakes. They've taken the bait in 47 systems, Torres reported. Their command and control network is stretching thin trying to coordinate across such a wide area. Jack nodded, watching as the final pieces fell into place. Atlas, calculate victory probability if we execute the trap now. Based on current positions and historical combat data, probability of success stands at 89.7%. Atlas responded. The hegemony has never encountered this level of coordinated tactical deception. Because they've never fought an enemy who turned gaming into a military art form, Jack said. All stations, Operation Gambit Phase 2. Execute. Across 50 star systems, the seemingly chaotic human movements suddenly crystallized into a devastating series of coordinated strikes. Supply lines were cut, communication nodes were isolated, and entire battle groups found themselves trapped in positions that looked advantageous moments before. Multiple hegemony formations are attempting to retreat, Torres announced, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. Their command structure is breaking down across all sectors. Jack watched as the greatest military force in the galaxy learned a harsh lesson about human ingenuity. Send word to Admiral Thompson, he ordered. Tell her the gamers just checked their king. Now it's time for the economists to go after their queen. Lisa O'Connor stood before the quantum trading interface in the New York Orbital Financial Center, her eyes scanning thousands of alien market indicators simultaneously. After 15 years of breaking records on Wall Street, she'd thought she'd seen every type of market manipulation possible. The hegemony's financial system had proved her wrong. It was both impossibly complex and lockably rigid. Their entire economy runs on predictable algorithms, she explained to her team of quantum traders. They've had 40,000 years to optimize their systems, but they never considered one critical factor: human chaos theory. Behind her, the massive holographic display showed the hegemony's market system as a complex three-dimensional web of transactions, resource allocations, and trade routes. Each strand pulsed with different colors representing various commodities and currencies. "Look at these patterns," her deputy, Marcus Wong, pointed out. "Every trade follows the same mathematical principles they've used for millennia. No randomness, no emotional decisions, just pure logic." Lisa smiled, the same smile that had terrified hedge fund managers back on Earth. That's their weakness. They built the perfect machine, but they forgot that markets aren't supposed to be perfect. They're supposed to be human. She gestured to a series of quantum algorithms her team had developed, each one designed to introduce controlled chaos into the hegemony's perfectly ordered system. Time to show them why Earth's markets survived every crash, every bubble, and every crisis. We adapted. They didn't. "Trading pods in position," reported Amanda Foster from her station. "We've got quantum links established with all major hegemony trading hubs. They still think we're just a collection of alien merchant houses testing their systems." Lisa nodded, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "Begin Operation Market Storm. Let's introduce them to the concept of high-frequency trading." The effect was immediate and devastating. Thousands of microtransactions began flooding the hegemony's networks, each one perfectly legal under their own regulations, but timed with inhuman precision. The alien markets, designed to handle methodical and logical trading patterns, began showing the first signs of strain. "They're trying to adapt," Marcus announced, watching the hegemony's automated responses. "Their safety protocols are kicking in, attempting to establish new equilibriums." "Exactly as expected," Lisa replied. "Execute Phase 2, the flash crash scenario." Her team coordinated their actions with precision, born from years of handling Earth's most volatile markets. They began introducing seemingly random but carefully calculated disruptions across multiple sectors simultaneously. The hegemony's trading algorithms, attempting to maintain their perfect order, began chasing phantom patterns. Their equivalent of the Securities Exchange Commission is in complete chaos, Amanda reported with a grin. "They've never seen markets move like this. Their regulatory algorithms are crashing trying to find the logic behind our trades." Lisa watched as the complex web of alien markets began to pulse with erratic colors. "That's because they're looking for logic in the one place humans know better than to expect it: the psychology of trading." The hegemony's response came swiftly but predictably. Their central banking system began implementing emergency stabilization protocols, exactly as Lisa had anticipated. "They took the bait," she announced. "All teams, execute the quantum arbitrage protocols. Show them why humans still use human traders instead of relying entirely on algorithms." What followed was an economic masterpiece. Lisa's team exploited the rigid predictability of the hegemony's stabilization efforts, using their own safety measures against them. Each attempted correction by the alien systems created new vulnerabilities that the human traders instantly exploited. "Multiple hegemony trading houses are going dark," Marcus reported. "Their market maker systems are shutting down to prevent total collapse." Lisa allowed herself a moment of satisfaction as she watched the mighty economic engine of the galaxy's greatest empire grind to a halt, defeated by the very chaos they had feared in humanity. "Send word to Admiral Thompson," she ordered. "Tell her the economic front is secure. The hegemony just learned why Earth's markets are still run by humans, not machines. Now it's time for Professor Anderson to show them what human innovation can really do." Professor James Anderson walked through the crowded halls of the Lunar Defense Institute, dodging teams of engineers rushing between laboratories with prototype devices and experimental components. The familiar scent of ozone and hot electronics filled the air, the smell of innovation at work. "Another breakthrough in Lab 7," announced Dr. Peter Morris, hurrying alongside him with a holographic display showing test results. The team adapted the physics engine from stellar warfare II to create a new type of shield modulation. The hegemony's weapons literally can't see what they're supposed to hit. Anderson grinned, remembering how many had laughed when he'd first proposed using video game physics engines as the foundation for real-world defense systems. "How many breakthrough moments does that make this week?" 17 major and 32 minor, Peter replied. The quantum computing team just turned the spawn mechanics from reality breach into a working teleportation system. Small scale so far, but they say it'll be combat ready by next week. They entered the main development floor, where hundreds of scientists and engineers worked alongside AI systems to turn science fiction into reality. The massive space was divided into sections, each one dedicated to a different aspect of human scientific advancement. "Professor," called out Technical Director Michelle Torres from her workstation, "you need to see this. Remember how the hegemony ships use that crystalline computing matrix? We found out it has the same base structure as the processors we designed for Neural Quest last year." Anderson hurried over, studying the complex atomic diagrams on her screen. "They spent millennia perfecting that technology. We came up with something similar just to make our games run faster." "Exactly," Michelle beamed. "And since we approached it from a completely different angle, we found weaknesses in their system they never considered. We can disrupt their ship controls using modified gaming network protocols." The professor moved through the laboratory, checking on each team's progress. In one corner, engineers were converting physics glitches from popular games into actual space-time manipulation techniques. In another, specialists were transforming M&O crafting systems into revolutionary manufacturing methods. "Sir," Peter called out, checking his datapad. "The hegemony just released their latest battlefield analysis. They're still trying to understand how we're advancing so quickly." Anderson paused at the central monitoring station, watching feeds from battles across the galaxy. "They don't understand because they're looking for the wrong things. They expect methodical, incremental progress. Instead, we're giving them human innovation. Messy, creative, and completely unpredictable." An alert sounded from the quantum communications array. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Thompson," announced the AI assistant. "The hegemony is deploying their new adaptive shield technology." "Perfect timing," Anderson said, turning to address his teams. "Everyone, Operation Science Fiction is now in effect. Time to show them what happens when humans spend centuries imagining the impossible before we make it real." The laboratory erupted into coordinated chaos. Teams that had been working on seemingly unrelated projects suddenly began combining their innovations in ways that would have seemed insane just weeks ago. "Gaming physics plus quantum tunneling equals shield penetration," Michelle called out. "Neural networks plus spawn mechanics equals predict and counter systems." Anderson watched as his people worked, turning humanity's greatest gift, imagination, into weapons that the hegemony couldn't hope to understand. Every science fiction story, every game mechanic, every wild theory was becoming a new tool in humanity's arsenal. "Send word to Admiral Thompson," he ordered. "Tell her the technology gap is about to become their biggest problem." The hegemony thought they were facing a primitive species. He picked up a device that minutes ago had been impossible to create. Instead, they're facing a species that spent centuries dreaming up ways to do the impossible. Now it's time to show them what else we've imagined. Captain Tom Wilson stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel, Hand of Friendship, watching the approaching Rask ships through the main viewport. The alien vessels moved with a grace that belied their supposedly primitive status, their organic-looking hulls reflecting the light of their home star. "They're sending the recognition signals we decoded," Lieutenant Frank Carter reported from his communication station. "Translation matrix is active. We're ready for first contact, Captain." Wilson straightened his uniform, remembering Admiral Thompson's words. "Show them who we really are, not conquerors, not saviors, just humans willing to stand beside them as equals. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Let's show the hegemony's primitive species what real civilization looks like." The main screen activated, revealing the insectoid features of the Rask Leadership Council. Their compound eyes and iridescent carapaces caught the light, but it was their posture that struck Wilson. Proud yet cautious, like anyone who had lived too long under another's shadow. "Greetings, representatives of humanity," the lead counselor's translated voice came through clearly. "We have watched your resistance against the hegemony with great interest, though we admit, also with some confusion." Wilson smiled warmly. "The confusion is understandable, honored council. We tend to have that effect on people. Perhaps we could share stories. We brought records of Earth's history, specifically times when supposedly primitive peoples stood up to overwhelming odds." The next hours passed in a cultural exchange that would have made any diplomat proud. Wilson's team shared tales of humanity's greatest underdogs, ancient armies defeating superior forces through cunning, oppressed peoples rising up against tyranny, and small nations maintaining their independence against overwhelming odds. "Your species," one of the younger counselors observed, "seems to thrive on being underestimated." "We've had a lot of practice," Wilson replied. "Every time someone told us something was impossible, we took it as a challenge." The hegemony made the same mistake. They looked at our technology level and assumed we were primitive. They never bothered to look at our history. He gestured, and holographic displays filled the space between their ships, showing Earth's rapid progress from first flight to space exploration. 100 years from our first powered aircraft to interstellar travel. Not because we're special, but because we never learned to accept limitations. The Rask leaders watched in fascination as humanity's history of innovation and adaptation played out before them. Their own scientists, joining the conference, began asking increasingly detailed questions about human methods and philosophies. "Your weapons," the head scientist noted, "they're adaptations of entertainment systems." "Some of them," Wilson confirmed. "We turned games into training simulators, entertainment technology into military advantages. But more importantly, we never stopped asking what if. That's what the hegemony doesn't understand. Technology isn't just about advancement, it's about imagination." The council chambers buzzed with excited clicking as the Rask discussed among themselves. Finally, the lead counselor stepped forward. "For 10,000 years, we accepted the hegemony's assessment of our potential. We believed we were primitive because they told us we were." The counselor's compound eyes reflected the starlight. "You've shown us a different path." Wilson felt the weight of the moment. The hegemony built an empire based on technological superiority. We believe in building a community based on mutual respect and shared determination. "Then let us be the first," the counselor announced, "but not the last, to stand with humanity." The hegemony called us primitive. Together, let us show them how primitive species can change the galaxy. As the alliance was formalized, Wilson sent a message to Admiral Thompson. "First contact successful. The Rask are with us, and they're bringing friends. The hegemony is about to learn that they haven't been ruling an empire. They've been holding back a revolution." Admiral Jessica Thompson stood once again in the United Earth Council chamber, but this time she wasn't alone. Beside her knelt Supreme Commander Zixtal of the hegemony, his crystalline armor dulled from battle, and his posture showing something the hegemony hadn't displayed in 40,000 years: humility. The holographic displays showed the galaxy in real time. Human fleets moving with impossible grace, former hegemony worlds declaring independence, and trade routes being re-established under new protocols. But most striking were the spots of light representing joint human-alien research centers, where former enemies now work together. "Your species," Zixtal spoke, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in his voice, "could have destroyed us completely. Our analysis shows that once you cracked our market systems and developed counter-technologies, total victory was within your grasp." Thompson smiled, the same confident smile she'd worn when the war began. That would have been the expected response, wouldn't it? To crush our enemies, see them driven before us, and all that. She turned to address both the council and the gathered alien representatives. But humans have learned a few things from our own history. She gestured, and the displays shifted to show the new Joint Fleet exercises. Hegemony ships, once locked in rigid formations, now moved with human unpredictability. Former rebel species brought their own unique tactics to the mix, creating something entirely new. We could have won through destruction, Thompson continued, but we chose to win through inspiration instead. Every video game we ever created taught us that there's always another way to beat the final boss. Lieutenant Kelly Baker, now heading the Joint Tactical Training Program, stepped forward with her own report. The combined fleet is showing unprecedented adaptation rates. The hegemony's experience combined with human creativity and our allies' unique perspectives, we're discovering tactics that none of us could have developed alone. From his position, Zixtal rose slowly to his feet. When we first encountered your species, we saw your unpredictability as a threat. Your entertainment simulating warfare, your constant technological tinkering, your chaotic markets. We thought these were signs of primitiveness. Instead, Thompson finished for him, they were signs of something you've forgotten. The joy of discovery, the thrill of facing the unknown, and the power of working together as equals. The Chamber's attention turned to the latest reports from Professor Anderson's labs, where human and alien scientists worked side by side. Games were becoming training programs, entertainment technology was revolutionizing communication, and combined human-alien innovations were solving problems neither species could tackle alone. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, Thompson announced. The old empire is gone, but we're not here to build a new one. Instead, we propose something unprecedented, a community of equals, where strength comes from our differences, not our conformity. She turned to face Zixtal directly. You wanted war. We showed you a better way. The question is, are you ready to play a different kind of game? The former Supreme Commander of the galaxy's greatest empire looked around the chamber, at the faces of species his people had once dismissed as primitive. Then, to everyone's surprise, he laughed, a sound no human had ever heard from a hegemony leader. For 40,000 years, he said, we thought we were advancing, but we were only repeating. You taught us that true advancement comes from imagination, from daring to be different. He straightened to his full height. We accept your challenge, Admiral Thompson. Teach us how to play. As the chamber erupted in cheers and celebrations, Thompson sent her final official war report. To all commands, Operation Teaching Moments successful. The galaxy just learned why humans never play by the rules. We make better ones instead. The war was over. The game had changed. And humanity had shown the galaxy that sometimes the best way to win wasn't to defeat your enemy, but to turn them into allies.